good afternoon, everyone. I'm Karen Marsdale from the Greater Reading Chamber of Commerce Alliance, and I am here today with a member, Mark Miller of Flywheel LLC. And Mark and I have been talking pre-show about some really interesting things that are near and dear to my heart, because I really, really like it when companies invest in themselves and really work on their own people, their own processes, and really the potential is unlimited once companies kind of get their everything right, or not everything right, but start working toward a cohesive plan and directive. So, Mark, you are in the business of unlocking an individual's and organizational potential by helping business leaders build high-performing organizations. And wow, in our world at the Chamber, have we seen some of the need for that? I often say that because someone starts a business because they're very proficient in doing something like making a chocolate chip cookie, doesn't mean they know how to run a business or build a business. So talk about where your passion came from for doing this work, where you're coaching on an executive level and then working with companies to build their capacity.
Sure. My background, along with owning a company and being a chief operating officer in companies, and when I had read Vern Harnish's book called Scaling Up, which was his 2014 book. He wrote Rockefeller Habits back in 2002.
A long time ago.
Which was a great book. It's probably a more comfortable read than Scaling Up. Scaling Up is a little bit more textbook oriented. But he broke running a business into four critical decisions. Your people decision, and building a harmonious culture of accountability, right, which is nice words but hard to do for a lot of people. Your strategic decisions, your execution decisions, and of course what many companies wrestle with, your cash decision, and how you manage them all to get momentum going in your company to provide profitable, liquid growth to your company. So when I had read Scaling Up, the principles were very actionable, made a whole lot of sense to me. A lot of business books are theoretical and make it tough to implement. This was very, Vern works with best thought leaders, best practices, the Jim Collins of the world, the Greg Crabtrees of the world, Pat Lencioni's of the world, and brings them into each of those elements of the four critical decisions, gives you methodologies to implement them within the company. And that's what we coaches do. So we help look at which of the first dominoes are that need to be pushed over in order to help bring your company up.
Well, it was interesting as we were talking, because probably about 10 years ago, it might have even been a few more, maybe like 12 as time goes on, but we did use the Rockefeller Habits. I think we had either 10 to 12 companies. For a full year, their senior leadership teams would come on a monthly basis and work with two coaches that we had. And I will tell you, I saw these companies, those that really embraced these principles, and you're absolutely right, they're actionable. So in between those times when they would come together as a team in a classroom setting, our coaches were also then calling and talking to them about, okay, where were your stumbling blocks? I think they'd call them the rocks.
Yep.
Where were they, and how did you get past them? Yeah. So it was really, it was on the job training as well as coming into the classroom. And I think that one thing that I will remember forever is a company that's very successful here. They've just moved out of Berks County, just over the line into Montgomery County, but amazing startup in technology, and they had a proprietary product, so they for years didn't have to worry about competition. They were just growing by leaps and bounds, and then sort of suddenly it was kind of like, they were falling off a bit, and the one partner said to me, for the first time in 20 years, we're actually planning for our success and planning for our future. And wow, when a company says that to you, you say, wow, I think that they just got an aha moment, and now they continued to work through and with the Rockefeller Habits and the model of Vern Harnish, I think, to this day. So it's great. So I'm glad to see a fellow believer, if you will. So who can really, because I think I know the answer to this, who can benefit with all of this coaching and development that you're talking about? Do you really have to be a super large, mega company, or can a small 10, 12, 14, 15 person operation benefit?
I think there's elements to the Rockefeller Habits and the scaling up methodologies that can apply to everyone and every business owner. The principles are pretty sound in how you look at people and how you look and plan your strategy. I'm a one-person business as a coach and have my own strategic plan, right? So because I've thought through the processes. So the disciplines and priority setting, keeping the main thing, right, is something you can use not only in your personal life, but also in your business life. It's an important thing that all of us do. So some of the execution priorities, how you measure yourself. The Gazelle's methodology is very clear about what gets measured gets done. Right? If you can't put a number to it, if you can't move things ahead and understand where you are, how can you understand where you're going? So those are all principles that apply to any size company. As a coach, we often end up working with the leadership team as a whole, not only with the business owner. But you're right, a lot of entrepreneurs have started with a great product, a great service idea, and they don't inherently come to the understanding of running a business, right? And maybe they're even pulled further away from the things that they love doing and started the business in the first place. And the Gazelle methodology gives a framework for helping them do that and putting the company on a pulse that's very predictable.
I love what you said, because I always have, from a friend, a marketing friend years ago said, what you can't measure, you cannot manage.
Right.
And that is so true in the work that I've always done at the Chamber. If I can't measure whatever it could be, whether it's growth financially, whether it's growth of companies, whether it's growth of people, if I can measure that we've moved the dial, then I can start to manage it. And I think that's the biggest challenge for any business owner, because they kind of get into the weeds, and then all of a sudden they're looking up and saying, "Oh my gosh, what have I accomplished?"
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit about what transitioned you from saying, I've been a COO. I believe you said COO. Mm-hmm. So you've been working in some corporate environments apparently, and then suddenly now you're this one-man operation. Now, how does that feel?
Wonderful.
Scary.
It's as you shared at the beginning, liberating human and organizational potential is really what I love doing. And they're win-win scenarios when your employee engagement levels, your culture. Every company has a culture.
It does.
It's either defined or it's by default, right? So we encourage people to define it. And raise your number of A players versus tolerating your B and C players. And my interest and pursuit of this is to, on a widening scale, help more people reach their individual potential and organizational potential. And the nice thing is that's aligned. Someone who goes to work each day and is feeling valued, is feeling like they can make a difference, is rewarded and recognized for what they're doing, plays to making that organization a success as well. So that's why I went this path as well.
Well, I commend you for that, because we know at the Chamber, we try continually to tell companies large, not so large. Usually they're pretty much in sync with what their goals and objectives are. But particularly small to mid-sized businesses, they really have to work on that business. They can't just work in the business of making the chocolate chip cookie or making the widget or being the accountant or the attorney. They have to work on that business and see the potential of what they want to become and how they get there by the strategies that they're putting into place. Yep. And that's really, really important. Our time is up. It just went so quickly because I think we're talking about things that we both feel, really, really passionate about. So tell me, are you doing business in Berks County? You doing business beyond? Is it where wherever that which calls you to do comes? Where do you like your wheelhouse to be?
I call it the Mid-Atlantic, but I'm doing business and would prefer live in Berks County, have lived here a long time. My wife is from Berks County, so obviously clients in Berks County. I love to support this community and this economy, but have clients in the Mid-Atlantic, and so car ride is where I like to keep the parameters.
Well, this is something, folks who are listening, think about this. If you're challenged with really putting together some of these plans and having a partner, so to speak, go along with you in particularly your strategic plan and keeping you online and keeping you accountable for the things that you've actually determined that you want to do and where the success you want to get to. Please give Mark a call and talk to him about it, because it really is, just real quickly, the book, The Rockefeller Habits, which was Vern Harnish's first book, and like you said, he is a thought leader who then takes the greatest of the thought leaders and puts together these very actionable plans. But he really talks about John D. Rockefeller and how he and his brother walked to work every day, and they discussed what they were going to do, and then they walked home every night and said, what did we accomplish?
Exactly.
And something so simple as that. Just out of that comes such wisdom.
Yep.
So is there any lasting or last thoughts that you want to leave with our audience?
No, you brought up an interesting thing, which then stems the whole thing about communication rhythm, right? And how a company communicates between departments, and to break down silos, and to enhance employee engagement, and to make it a place people want to work and a company to thrive. And that's what it's all about.
That's super. That's the perfect place where I want to work. So that's great. Well, Mark, it was a pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much for your membership. I do believe that the Chamber is a great place for you. We're right in the middle of all these things that are happening, and I wish you great success. So Thanks. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.